Hey guys, so I'm just checking in to let you know that it's now Tuesday. Um, I ended up DNFing Oswald by Monorolwood at 25%. I was just bored. There was nothing happening. It's in the same vein as Catherine House and My Heart is a Chainsaw for me. Both of those were DNFs at 75 and 50%. It's just not a type of horror genre, a style of writing that really works for me. So, that being said, we are going to get busy the rest of this week. We've got a lot to read. So, I am starting with Five Survive by Holly Jackson. Because I know I like Jackson's writing, I like her thrillers. So, I'm going to get into this. Then we have People We Met on Vacation to read. One that's been on my TBR for a while that I'm going to be going to is Until the Last of Me by Sylvain Neuvel. And then my book club pick for this month is a chonker, and that is Malice by John Gwynne. Now, I've heard great things about John Gwynne, Marley Gray, dark fantasy. I haven't heard too much about the Malice series, but everyone that has read it has really enjoyed it. But I have heard great things about Shadow of the Gods and Hunger of the Gods, so I can't wait to get into this. So yeah, we've got a bit of an eclectic mix. We've got a thriller, a fantasy, a sci-fi, and a contemporary romance. So no matter what I'm in the mood for, I've got something to cycle through. So that being said, I'm going 10% in. This has encompassed the first hour, so 10 to 11 p.m. Basically, we've got 6 friends: Red, Maddie, Simon, Oliver, Raina, and Arthur, who are going away for spring break. And they are driving in Simon's uncle's RV. Basically, this just introduces us to the group a bit. So we know Maddie and Oliver are brother and sister. Raina is Oliver's girlfriend. Just introduces us to the dynamics. We also know that Red's mother has died. We don't know how yet. And she lives with her father, both of which are really struggling, and Red is basically the one trying to keep the house afloat, which is the reason why the group didn't fly for spring break, because Red couldn't afford it. So as they're getting close to their campsite, they lose service on their phones and with it their maps, and they get lost and end up puncturing a tire. So they're now stuck where they are. So yeah, I'm interested to see now where this goes. Being as the group is stuck, tensions are already riding a little high. So yeah, good introduction, really set the scene, the characters. So yeah, things should kick off pretty soon. Knowing Jackson. It's probably going to be about the quarter mark. Things are really going to heat up. So, yeah, really enjoyed that opening, and I'm going to continue once I've had some food. So I'm a quarter of the way through the book now. Things have just started kicking off. So they break down because they have a punctured tyre. They go about changing the tyre and they're ready to go back on the road when all 4 of the tyres burst, and they don't know why, and they're investigating it when Red spots the laser sight, which then lets out a 5th shot really close to her, which ends up puncturing the gas tank of the RV. Red is also the one that realises that someone is shooting at them, and they get inside. And they slowly piece together that this is someone who knows what they're doing with a gun, because they're using a suppressor. And they have deliberately shot out all 4 tyres plus the spare and the gas tank to make sure they do not go anywhere. So initially my first thoughts are, we know Red's mum was a police captain and was shot dead, so this could be related to her, or this is to do with Oliver and Maddie's mother, Catherine, who is currently taking on a case related to the mob, and she is in line to be DA or district attorney. So that is most likely my best bet right now, that it's something to do with holding Oliver and Maddie hostage, or potentially killing one of them as a warning to their mother. But there could also be a twist which lands on one of the other characters. So technically we're 2 hours in. I think this book goes to the early hours. It goes to 6 a.m. and we're now just past midnight. So this book lasts 8 hours and we are 2 hours in. So yeah, it's kind of funny, like we're 2 hours in, but we know we have an active shooter. They are trying to protect themselves in this RV. They know they can't go anywhere, there's no cell service, they can't contact anyone, and there seems to be nothing around for a few miles. So can't wait to see how this comes into play and how everything sort of comes together. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading and I'll check in with you in a bit. Hey guys, so I am now halfway through 5 Survive and shit is getting real. So basically the sniper ends up getting in contact with them by leaving them a walkie-talkie, and he basically says that someone in that RV has a secret that they want. And we can see by their reactions to this that quite a few of them are keeping secrets, Red being one, as she internally refers to a plan that no one can know about. However, Oliver thinks it's about him and Maddie and the case their mother is working on, as the whole setup just kind of screams mafia, hit job, intimidation. So they're working off that assumption. So they put their heads together and they come up with a plan to find out where the shooter is located. And this does seem to work. So they think, right, the shooter's on this side. If we go out this side the RV, we can make a break for it using the vehicle as cover. And they intend to do just that, but literally as Oliver is about to climb out the window, the shooter comes back and says, hey, just to let you know, there's more than one of us. Which means basically they're trapped on all sides. They ain't getting out. So yeah, they're processing that when there's a lot of complication in the plan, as an elderly couple who are returning from the birth of their first grandchild see the lights and come to offer help. The sniper, the one they're talking to, tells them to get rid of the couple or they will kill them. So they're trying not to let this couple catch on to what's happening, but also trying to come up with a plan, because this is possibly the only chance they're going to get for help. So Oliver wants to write them a note and pass it to the man, Don. And it seems like it's worked, for a minute. But obviously the snipers said what they were going to do and shoot Don and his wife Joyce in front of all these kids. And this is going to hit Red really hard, because she's got a personal history that her mother was killed. But also Arthur, because they're the two people that opposed Oliver's plan. But now they're back to square one. They have no help, no signal, no way of escaping. And now they've also got the death of two people on their consciences. So, yeah. So we've now just gone past 2 a.m, I think. 3 a.m. We're almost at 3 a.m. So we are, I'm pretty close, being as this book ends at 6 a.m. So we've only got about 3-ish hours to go. So yeah, I'm hoping now we are into the second half. Someone has died, the tension is ramping up, that these secrets that the characters are keeping are going to start coming out. So I'm really excited for that. I should be able to, I don't know, maybe finish it tonight. I'm not sure, it's 11:45 now, so yeah, I should be able to finish it tonight. And I'll chat back with you in a little bit. Hey guys, so I'm 65% of the way through the book now. And yeah, we've just got our first 2 secrets that are out in the open, basically half the group so far. So Simon comes out and says that his uncle's car dealership is not quite legal, meaning he steals cars and that the RV they're in might be stolen. But that doesn't seem like a big enough reason to want to kill people. Then we learn Oliver and Raina's secret, and it's twofold. So Raina was cheating on Oliver for months with a guy named Jack. One night they are at the bar Jack works at, and he basically has a confrontation with Raina over who she's going to pick, whether she's going to stay with Jack or and leave Oliver or stay with Oliver. But Oliver catches them in this interaction and Raina pretends not to know Jack. So Jack hits Oliver, Oliver hits Jack. Oliver and Jack ends up hitting his head and dying from a bleed on the brain. So Raina believes this is possibly Jack's brothers looking for the truth behind his death. Maybe they saw the messages he and Raina exchanged. But something about that doesn't quite feel right. This isn't like figuring out what happened. This feels like revenge through and through. So yeah, we have that. And they are now basically pressuring Red because Raina wants to tell the shooter what happened. Oliver doesn't. And because Red is holding the walkie-talkie, she has to make a choice over who she gives it to, Raina or Oliver. Oliver's behaviour is concerning. He's had quite a few violent outbursts, and this could become a literal Lord of the Flies situation. But we also know Red has a secret, something to do with this plan, and she's stated over and over in her head that these snipers can't know about her plan because no one knows about it. But Maddie is definitely keeping a secret, and Arthur could possibly be keeping one as well. So we still don't know at this point what's going on, but we do have some avenues it could go down. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be able to finish this now. I've only got like 130 pages left, so I'm going to continue reading, and I'm probably going to check back in now once I've finished and see how it actually ends. So it's 2:10 in the morning. So forgive me if I'm speaking quietly. But I just finished this. I devoured this in about 4 hours. This was intense, like intense. If you've read the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson, then you've got a really good idea of what you're in store for here, with twists and turns and then reveal upon twist upon reveal at the end. Yeah, I'm not going to say too much about the ending because I don't want to spoil it, because like a good 65% of this book is all about build up to that ending. But I adored this. Like, this might just be one of my favourite reads of the year. It was that good. Like, Red and Arthur hold a very special place in my heart. And that's saying something. If you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. But like, that ending totally got me. I was sat there reading it with my mouth open, like, what the hell? And the audiobook for this was brilliant. The only thing that would have made that audiobook better is if it was a full cast. But it was still amazing. Like, Holly Jackson has cemented herself as an insta-buy author for me. I've read all the books in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. All of them were amazing. This is another 5 stars. Like, it doesn't matter what this woman writes, I will read it and most likely really fucking enjoy it. Like, I can't, like, this is everything you want from a thriller. Character introductions at the beginning, pace ramps up very early and stays up for the entirety of the book. Like, damn. So, it's like a book hangover from that. I'm probably going to have for the next couple of days. I'm just going to think about that book and the reveals and the twists and everything else. I think I will stick with another short one for my next read, and I think I will go to Until the Last of Me, because I do want to finish this series this year, and I do actually have this physical copy of book 2, and I have an e-arc of book 3, which might even be out now. I don't know. I've had an e-arc for a while, so this one's probably going to be next, because the audiobook is only like 8 hours long and it's only like 285 pages, so I can definitely bang this out in a single day. And then after that, I will be aiming to get the audiobook for People We Meet on Vacation and the audiobook for Malice, because this is my book club pick, and this is a chunky boy. It's 625 pages-ish. So this is gonna be a struggle, because at the minute I'm not doing well with my chunky books. But luckily my book club has divided, well, I decided we were going to divide it up into 10 chapter bursts, because there's 88 chapters in here, so it'll be like 9 chapters and then an 8 at the end or something like that, but it's like roughly 10 chapters per reading. So actually, to get to chapter 10, I only need to read 80 pages, and if I do that, over the next couple of weeks, I should be able to finish this before the end of the month. So these, and this is next on the TBR, which after DNFing All's Well, I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be one of those months where I'm just like, everything I read, I either read really badly or just DNF. But this definitely changed that. If you haven't read this, read it and let me know your thoughts on it. But yeah, that's it for tonight. I am going to bed, and I will see you tomorrow. Well, later on today. Okay, so, quick update. I finished 5 Survive, as you know, and I decided after that to finally go back to the Anita Blake series, because we do have a read along on Discord for that. We're supposed to be on book 15, I believe. I've been stuck on book 9 for months. And it was because basically in this one, Anita goes to help Edward with something. So we don't see any of the characters that I've really come to love. So Jean-Claude and Nathaniel and the other shifters, we don't see any of them. Richard is becoming a bit of an asshole, but we'll ignore that for now. So none of them were in it, and I do find being in Anita's head all the time really annoying at times. And even though Edward is interesting, we don't know that much about him, because Anita doesn't know that much about him. So I got bored early on, and I was like, what's the point? This doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So I ended up putting it down at 25%. I knew I was going to come back to it, because I know the later books get better. Because this series is 30 books long, so I'm almost a third of the way through it, so I ain't giving up now. But I thought, screw it, I'm going to pick it back up, and if I've got to force myself to get through it, I will. And actually, I flew through the rest of it. Like, after that The first quarter is boring, but once we get through that, shit picks up really quick, and I actually ended up enjoying it. It's not my favourite Anita Blake book, because a lot of my favourite characters aren't in it, but Anita literally faces down a god in this. I will have to say, you will have to check trigger warnings before going into it, because there is the torture of a child and essay of a child, as well as all the other gory stuff that goes on in this book. Like, it's paranormal romance-ish, but there is a lot of horror elements in there. So just be aware of that if you do decide to go into it. So yeah, now that I've got back into the world and I'm back acquainted with Anita and this world, I am really looking forward to book 10, Narcissus in Chains, that I'm probably going to be starting really soon. I do want to try and bang out Until the Last of Me, because the audiobook for this is like 8 hours and I listen to it on 2.5 speed, so I can finish this in about 4 hours. And People We Meet on Vacation in the next couple of days, but after that I will be going to Narcissus in Chains and making a start on Malice by John Gwynne, because we are 10-11 days into August now and I haven't started it, and it's a chunky book. But Obsidian Butterfly was a big book, 500 pages ish. I know my Kindle edition was 608 pages, so and Malice is much bigger than that, so I know once I get into it I should be able to fly through it, but I really haven't been in the mood for high fantasy, even grimdark. Recently I've been a lot more into sci-fi, paranormal romance and contemporary romance, and especially the shorter stuff. So Malice is going to be a challenge for me to finish before the end of the month, and next month we also have a big book, which is She Who Became the Sun. So I have a feeling at some point I'm going to fall behind. I don't know if I'll finish Malice in August. It entirely depends on how my brain likes to process information once I get into it. But yeah, Obsidian Butterfly turned out to be, I want to say 4 stars, but because of the beginning and how long it actually put me off going back into the series, I'm going to say 3.75. But yeah, that's it for now. My next read is going to be Until the Last of Me, so I'm probably going to start that tonight, because even though it's 1:45 in the morning, I ain't tired yet, so I'm probably going to read a bit of this. Yeah, and then go to sleep. So I will check in with you tomorrow. Hey guys, so Friday is almost over. I haven't read anything today. I did say I was going to start Until the Last of Me, but I'm just not feeling a sci-fi mood right now, even though I know I'd fly through this. It's only like 280 pages. I'm not sure. I just finished obviously Obsidian Butterfly, which has got me back in the mood for Anita Blake. And I do know from our group chat that some stuff goes down with Richard in Narcissus in Chains, so I actually kind of want to start there. But this has been on my TBR forever, and I do need to finish it, and the last book for the first time again. So I think what I'm going to do is I will start and see if getting back into this world interests me in it, like Obsidian Butterfly did with Anita Blake. But if I'm not feeling it, I will go back to either Anita Blake or People We Meet on Vacation. But yeah, I'm not sure what I want to read right now. I'm not sure what kind of mood I'm in. So I'm going to give this a go, and I'll check back with you into this, and I am going back into it slowly. So we are reintroduced to Mia, who obviously in the last book went through some really traumatic things. Her and her mother had an encounter with a tracker, which resulted in Mia losing her unborn child and her mother sacrificing herself to kill the tracker that they were dealing with. Mia does go on to have another child, who we meet in the last pages of A History of What Comes Next, and this baby's name is Lola. Now Lola is 8 years old, and Mia hasn't done a lot in those years, rather than just try and give her daughter some sort of normal life before she throws the pressures of being one of the Kipsu onto her. Obviously in 68-69 we see the Russians send the first man into space with Yuri Gagarin, and we see the Americans actually land on the moon, which was phase 1 of their plan. Mia now wants to explore the outer planets, and she knows to do that they need the planets to be aligned, because they could never have enough fuel to get to the outer planets or out of the solar system, so they have to use the natural rotation speed of the outer planets to slingshot them along to the next one. And this is already in motion, but they have 8 years until the planets align, and if they don't do it then, they will have to wait 175 years for the next chance. We then also go back to the trackers. So Mia actually bumped into one of the trackers near the Algiers, but he didn't seem to recognise her. And we get the perspective of the mother that's given birth to the trackers, who, like Mia and her family, are carbon copies of the father, whereas Mia is a carbon copy of the mother. And they have, she has 3 sons, Raphael, Uriel, and Samael. The 2 older sons, Raphael and Uriel, are just like their father. They live and crave violence. But Samael is different. He doesn't see the need to fight, and he can control the urge within him. Very similar to how Lola can. And I think this is going to be significant, that both of these 2 can deny those instinctual drives and control them, whereas no one else in their lines has been able to do that before. Not Mia, not Sarah, and not the other trackers, as we see. So yeah, it is interesting to be back in this world. I don't know where this is really going to go. The only thing the blurb gives away is that Mia and possibly her daughter are going to break one of the 4 rules that the 100 have lived by for a long time. And one of the first rules is always run, never fight. It's the opposite for trackers. Always fight, never run. And we know at some point Mia is going to break this rule. Which is very in keeping with her character. She's always been a bit of a rule breaker. So apart from that, I'm not really sure where it's going to go. Don't know whether this is going to have a lot of things I enjoyed in the first one. The first one I liked because it was very heavy on the technology and the science, and B, because it was a very different take on World War II fiction. So yeah, I will continue with this. It probably won't take me long to read it, considering I'm already like 35 pages in, and the quarter mark is only about 70 pages. So I should be able to bang a lot of this out tonight. But yeah, it's interesting so far, and I'll check back in a bit. So I'm a quarter of the way through now. Yeah, I genuinely forgot how well Sylvain Neuvel writes. Like, this is less than, it's like 285 pages long. I'm already 70 pages in. Yeah, we just keep following the two sides, the Keepsu and the trackers, as they're getting older. So we know that Lola is now 11. She is very much like Mia, going through that almost rebellious phase. Like, there has to be more than this. We have to be more than just carbon copies of each other, which is exactly what Mia was going through in the first book, and she eventually realised, no, there isn't. This is our only purpose, and came to terms with that, and now we're seeing Lola go through the same thing. We know Samael and his brothers are older than Lola, because when she's 7, 8, Samael, the youngest of the three, is 16. So that would put Samael about 20 now, and Uriel and Raphael are older than him. But there are two key things to note. One is that Bo has been found in China with the same symbols that Sarah and her Chinese friend were looking into as like a side quest, and they definitely originate from the Keepsu. And Lola wants to translate this, thinking it could be a message or something from their people, the earlier incarnations, about why they were actually there. Because we know from the first book, around the 10th incarnation, a lot of the knowledge was lost. And this is also happening with the trackers, where they've made a connection to an Egyptian priestess who was supposed to be over a century old. But knowing what they know about them and the Keepsu being carbon copies of each other, Uriel believes that this century-old priestess was grandmother, mother, and daughter, taking each other's place and pretending to be the same person. And he also thinks that this sphere, or they're trying to get their hands on to contact their people, actually isn't being carried around by the Keepsu, that they may have hidden it somewhere, and the only reason for them to stay in one place for a century would be if there was something very important about that place. So the brothers are intending to go to Egypt. But Samael, who allowed his mother to get free, doesn't want to go and kill her when she finally gets in contact. So the trio split up. Raphael is going to go and kill their mother, Uriel's going to go ahead to Egypt, and Samael is going to rule out a lead in Miami. Now we know Mia and Lola are pretty close by, as they're in California. So there is the potential for Mia, Lola, and Samael to interact. But apart from that, it's really strange, because even though we're following new characters, because they are essentially clones of their parents, mother and father respectively, it feels like, for me anyway, that when you read from Lola's perspective, it's exactly like reading Mia's perspective from the same book. It feels exactly the same, even though there's different names, different places, and time has moved on. So while there are some aspects that feel new, a lot of it feels rehashed from the first book. and I don't know, I feel strange about this. Like, I understand because they are clones of the previous one of themselves. You know, they're the 102 now for the Keepsu. And the same with the trackers. I actually so far prefer following the trackers because at least there's more individuality with them. Like, Raphael, Uriel, and Samael feel like 3 different people, even though every single one of them is a clone of their father. Whereas Lola feels like a carbon copy, almost exactly, of Mia in the first book. So there doesn't seem to be any uniqueness, any originality there. And I did also like the brief flashbacks we get to other Keepsu and other trackers way in the past. That gives us more context to this centuries, millennia long struggle and fight that has been going on between the Keepsu and the trackers. Yeah, so I'm going to read a little more. I'll probably check in with you again when I'm at the halfway mark. Because this book is really short, I don't want to check it in like every section like I would normally because it's so short. I'm not going to have that much to say. So yeah, that's it for now. And I'll check back in a bit. Hey guys, so Saturday is almost over and I haven't read much today. I did get halfway through until the last of me last night, and I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it. Like, I like being back in this world and following these characters, but it just doesn't seem like much is happening. Like, by this point in the first book, we were in the middle of a war, there was stuff happening, there were goals to be met, and we haven't got any of that yet. So this is kind of wearing on me a bit. I'm hoping the second half is going to be better and it will be some action or something to set up the last book. But what I have read today was 3 novellas by Rihanna Burwell, which were Done Right, Taught Right, and Effed Right. And these were erotic novellas, think Harley LaRue's The Day kind of thing. And they were amazing. They were brilliant. She does have a couple of other novellas that I'm going to get my hands on as soon as I can. But she seriously needs to write something full length as soon as possible. I do have also on my TBR the Her Soul to Take duology by Harley LaRue and Losers Part 1 and Part 2 by Harley LaRue. But I found another author that's going to be someone that when she comes out with something, I am definitely going to pick it up straight away. They were all very short, so I wish they were longer. I wish we got to spend more time with these characters, especially Joey and Ava, since they were my favourite. And I think Joey just had the best arc of all 3 male leads. And I really like how Rihanna Burwell turned male versus female expectations in relationships on its head a little bit, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go back into this for a bit because I don't know how long I've got left in the audiobook because I listened to it on 2 times speed. So I shall have a look-see. Apparently I've got 1 hour and 43 minutes left in that. So I'm probably going to finish this tonight. Because I'm like 145 pages at 285, so I've only got like 140 pages left. But this definitely isn't going to be a 5-star. I don't even think it's going to be a 4-star unless something really good happens in the second half. At the minute, it's sitting about 3.5, which I'm really disappointed by, because the first book was a 5-star read for me, as was the entirety of the Themis Files. So we'll have to see how the second half of this does. But this could really impact the final book for me, since the first one was amazing. This one might turn out to be a bit mid, a bit meh. So the last book, if that is the case, will have a lot of work to do to make up for this one. Definitely giving me middle book syndrome, but it happens. So that's the plan for tonight, and then if I can finish until the last of me tonight, I will be starting People We Meet on Vacation tomorrow, as well as Narcissus in Chains. I'm gonna sort of tandem read those maybe, and I'm also aiming to make a start on Malice. I'm gonna break Malice up into 10 chapter segments, so if I can read 10 chapters a day, it'll only take me about 8 or 9 days to finish, which means I should be able to get it finished well before the end of the month. So I'm going to start that tomorrow, I think. I'm going to try and get 10 chapters of that out of the way, because I haven't read a lot of high fantasy recently, so I'm going to break it up so it doesn't feel as overwhelming. And then the rest of the day I'm probably going to spend reading People We Meet on Vacation or Narcissus in Chains. Yeah, but that's it for now. I'm going to go back into this. So your next 2 updates will be 3/4 of the way, and then when I'm done. So I'll see you in Hey guys, so I'm 3/4 of the way through Until the Last of Me, and I'm pretty disappointed, not gonna lie. Still, nothing has really happened. They've moved from Russia into China to try and get a better look at the bow. Now they're starting to understand the instructions written on it. It wasn't a map of Earth, but it's directions in the stars. So this might be directions to their whole planet, or the greater purpose that they have. Meanwhile, the brothers are leaving Egypt for Iran, as that where the priestess went, and since there's no depictions of the orb after the priestess left, they think they took the orb with her. So even though they're pretty close to each other right now, they're still, miles apart. Obviously this is 1980s, there's a lot of political unrest in China and all that stuff, but nothing's happening, and I'm really bored. So I don't know whether I'm just gonna put it down for now and try People We Meet on Vacation, or read some of Malice just to get myself out of this. But I've only got like an hour left, so I might just power through, because I'm at like 173, so I've only got like 100 pages, less than 100 pages really left. But yeah, this is really disappointing me. The first book was amazing. It had everything I wanted after reading the Themis Files, and this has none of it. Literally all you've done is follow Mia and Lola throughout Lola's life as Mia navigates, you know, being a parent and a lot of stuff like that, but there's none of what I found interesting in the first book in this so far. I have a feeling it's literally going to come in like right at the end, and if that feeling happens to be correct, this is going to piss me off so much, because even though this book is short, less than 300 pages, to have the like only action or interesting things happen here after I've read all of this is going to piss me off so much. This definitely suffers from middle book syndrome. Personally, what I would have done with this is made it a duology and included, you know, the first 150 pages of this at the end of a history of what comes next. So you get all that action, things settle down, and we gear up for round 2, and then include, you know, the first middle boringish part here, and then the exciting part at the end of this one, and then put for the first time again onto the end of it. I made it a duology because I don't just see any use in this book apart from learning more about the Keepsu and their purpose, and more about the trackers and, you know, the similarities to parallels between them. Apart from that, nothing has happened. Like, if I didn't have an arc of the third book, I would seriously be tempted to DNF this right now. But yeah, I'm gonna finish it. I will finish it today because I've got like an hour left in the audiobook. But so far, hugely disappointing, and we'll see how the ending works out. So I'll check back with you when I'm finished. Until the last of me, and honestly, I was angry because that ending was amazing, and it really sets up what I think is going to be the final conflict between the Keepsu and the trackers. And there's a lot of implications for things to come at the end of the book, much like with the Themis Files. But I honestly felt this could have been condensed to about 150 pages and split between the first and the third book, because for a good 175 pages of this book, I was bored. Nothing was happening. And then in the last 50 or so pages, everything happened. So yeah, it definitely suffers from middle book syndrome, and definitely don't go into this series expecting the same tension and action levels that you get in the Themis Files, because you're just not going to get it. In the first book you will. Book 2 feels a major letdown compared to that, and any hope for this series getting more than a 3.54 stars overall is going to depend on that last book. So I finished that now. So yeah, very disappointed. I was expecting a lot more from that. So now I did start Carrie by Stephen King last night and read the first quarter of that. So I'm going to continue with that, something different for a bit. And then I'm going to tandem read People We Meet on Vacation and Malice by John Gwynne. Because this is a hefty book, got over 600 pages, and there's, I think, like close to 90 chapters. I think there's like 88 chapters, if I am remembering correctly. Yeah, 88 chapters. So my goal is going to be to read about 10 chapters a day, if I can, to finish it before the end of the month. And once I finish Carrie, I will be starting People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, for the Major Arcana reading challenge that I've got going. This is round 2. So once I finish that, we can roll again for our picks for round 3. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna chill out for the rest of tonight, finish Carrie. If I end up finishing Carrie before tomorrow, I will let you know my thoughts on it. I have read Carrie years ago, and I've seen all adaptations of it. I saw the original movie with Sissy Spacek and the remake with Chloe Moretz. Obviously the original holds a special place in my heart, but over the next year or so, I am attempting to read my way through the entirety of Stephen King's books. So I was going to read them in chronological order, but I managed to get my hands on Salem's Lot before Carrie, so I've read that, Carrie, and then the next 2 are Rage, which he published under Richard Bachman, I think it was, and The Shining. So yeah, that's the plan, and if I get any more reading done today, I will let you know.